problem around unity is the battle that's still going on between the masculine and the feminine. And that, in a way, that has divided up even amongst the dynamics of your political party. Oh, you would have to say that the right is representing, in many ways, the masculine, the old patriarchal, the old misogynistic, and the left is representing the feminine, who is incredibly angry and incredibly overly sensitive about the whole dynamic. And the way things are right now, never the twain shall meet. Or are each of you going to be able to transcend the energetic dynamic of left and right, of masculine and feminine? We were talking last night about the dynamics of the hemispheres of the brain, and the right hemisphere of the brain, which is um, judged as to be more feminine, has the dynamic of creativity, has the dynamic of dreams, has that dynamic of energy that is very magnetic in its presentation of it. And at the same time, the masculine, which is very electric, takes that dynamic of those dreams, of that energy, of that emotional state, and brings it into a pragmatic state, can bring the dynamic of those dreams into reality. But the added rub is that once the masculine energy brings that into reality, it has to go back to the feminine it has to go back to the magnetic side of the brain in order to be transmitted. And so it's a very interesting energetic dynamic. And so what we are trying to mm, inform you of is the possibility of the engagement and the integration of both sides of your mind, of both sides of your brain. And don't make the mistake to think that it's all one thing or it's all another. Those of you that are in female bodies have one whole set of biases. Those that are in masculine bodies have a whole different set of biases. But the dynamic ultimately has to be and has to be understood that the wholeness of one's being contains both the masculine and the feminine energies. Otherwise, you would never accomplish anything in your lives. If you were all one or the other, you would spend your whole time dreaming, and you would probably starve to death because you wouldn't ever do anything that was pragmatic, that was meaningful, because you would spend your whole day dreaming, your whole time in that sort of dynamic. So, but you have a masculine side of your dynamic that says to you, hey, you've got to eat. Maybe you ought to do this, or maybe you ought to do that. In other words, the magnetic is the emotional, and the electric is the pragmatic. And it's about understanding that energetically, emotionally, this is, as you integrate these pieces of yourself, this is real sovereignty. When you gain that dynamic, when you're able to see that, when you're able to be in that moment, that's real sovereignty. That's real unity within yourself. And we would like to say that you have to do that in order to create that dynamic in the world, but you don't.
Yes, all you have to do is imagine the possibility of it.
Well, that's right. Because it's the dynamic of where do you go from here?